Hey guys, welcome back. So today I'm going to be redoing the video that I did earlier on lower thirds, and this is because this video has been getting a lot of comments that were not so well received. Many people were saying that they did not hear anything in the video, and that's why I am remaking this. uh, and it's just a video on lower thirds in Davinci Resolve. So getting into it, I'm going to be using this clip. This is Tom McGivern, a real estate broker. So I'm going to be using that to kind of explain to you how the lower thirds and titles in general work and how you can make them in Davinci Resolve. So here we have this picture. So here we have this clip, and what we have to do, we now have to add, when you go to the effects libraries, you have a toolbox here where you have video transitions, audio transitions, but you're going to be using titles. So under the titles you have DaVinci Resolve gives you some options, lower thirds, and basically what this is L stands for left lower third, M stands for mid lower third, and R stands for right lower third. So once you drag it, let's imagine you have this and then you drag it in, so the lower third that's going to be made will be in the left section of your time, and then this here is in the mid section. So again, you'll see that it's in the mid section, and as this is in the right section. But this is a scroll effect, like at the end of the movies, you know how the title scrolls past. Okay, so here if I am to increase a little bit, just so you see that it kind of scrolls past the screen. And then text, this is just like a title block. For example, once you're introducing something, it's always in the middle right there. But we're going to be exploring some very few basic options here, and you're going to have to maybe try to find a way to use all of these whenever you want. So moving to the animation part of it and how to create them, when you open up and you click and drag, let's imagine we had this left lower third here. So the text we have is just bare without anything in it, and we're just going to maybe say his name is Tom. Let me just put all caps, Tom McGivern. Okay, so let's this is his name, and he's a real estate broker. So here we're going to put the title, the position that he holds. Let's say real estate agent. So now the idea is, first of all, here you have two options. You have the text option and then the video option. So we're going to be animating the text, and we're going to be using the text option here. So right, if you want to, there are things you can change about this. For example, if you don't want this Times New Roman, you can change it to anything you want. So maybe let's try and see some options here. If you don't know which kind of if you don't know which kind you want to use, you can just decide to don't worry about the text. If you don't know which kind to use, you're in the right place, because here we're going to be covering design videos and going into details on how to use which text suits what purpose. Again, all those things, you don't have to worry, you're in the right place. So again, here we can leave this as it is, and maybe we can make this a bold. Okay, so here we have Tom McGivern, and he's a real estate agent, so it's bold here. If you don't want the color to be that, you can again come here and change it, right? So you don't have to worry so much about that. So you can change it to this color maybe, and maybe also this text here. We haven't reached that part, so don't worry. So you can put it there so that it's not so much up and about. And then here you can go down here to the real estate agent, and then also try to change the color, put something that you feel best suits the purpose. Let's say that is what we have, and then this is the text we have here. Okay, maybe let's try going for bold. It could be something that you want, bold, italic, something like that. Now moving on, we can have other things. For example, if you want to increase the contrast between the text and the background, so the video, you can add a drop shadow. Again, you can give it any color you want. So what that will do, it will kind of pull it out a little bit. So here you'll notice that if you want, you can offset the drop shadow, okay, and then you'll see it making the difference. Okay, so you don't have to go too much overboard with it. So if you offset it too much, again, you'll see that it will be giving you the worst result. So here the thing is to be subtle about it. Okay, so we can say maybe let it be white or whatever you want, whichever color you feel like best suits your needs. Okay, so let's just imagine we have that there. So again, if you want to maybe change it a little bit, you can put a background to it. Okay, so we can put, let's put a white background for it, for example, and you specify things like the width, the out. So this will be the background color, and here you can specify the height, for example. Okay, and then the width, you can also kind of play around with that like this. All right, and then the outline width, if you want to add some sort of outline width to it, also you can do that. Okay, and again, the outline color, you can always specify whatever you feel like. All right, and let's change this. Let's put, for example, you can put blue, you can put various options that feel right to you. Okay, so again, here it all depends on what you want. Okay, so this the outline width will affect that black area there, then the width will affect this distance, and then the height, again, if you change it like that, you'll notice you'll be making a very subtle differences like that. The corner radius, you can change it to like kind of that if you want, but here the thing is to be subtle about everything, so you can actually decrease that intense color to give a subtle area like this. All right, so and here the thing is, okay, we also have a stroke. Again, if you increase, you'll see that it changes for that if you want. Okay, so now what we're having is we've now made a basic lower third. It's a left lower third, and we've customized it to what we want. And the next part is to begin animating it. Okay, so you can spread it out like that, but just I'm moving over here and spread it out. And then let's imagine it starts from here. All right, so once, let's say for example this is our final position where we want it to be. Let's move that to this place. I like starting it, for example, like that. Okay, and we move it to this place here, and we come and add keyframes at every position. So for example, here the keyframe, it's in the X position. Okay, so we want it to animate along the X axis like this. If you want it to animate from the Y, so for example coming from down going up, then that means you'll have to animate along the Y position. But if you want to move it from this X position down to this side and then back, so you'll have to animate with the X position. All right, so Y position, it's up and down, X position is left and right. Okay, so now we can try the X position. Even you can try both if you want, but let's imagine it's the X position we are working with. So just come and click to add a keyframe. So it will add a keyframe, though you can't see it, but just like here. But if you come and click over there, so when you come and click here, for example, right, this diamond keyframe there, you'll find that it has added our keyframe right there. And again, you can minimize that by clicking the diamond keyframe again. So now the next part is we should go and also add, before you move your playhead, just go and add keyframes to also this place, because we want them to move kind of similar together, if that makes sense. So we want to add keyframes again to this position. Okay, and since we're going to be moving the things like the drop shadows are going to be moving as well, we want to add a keyframe to them as well. So because it's going to be moving as one big title block. So this color, we don't use it because it's not there anyway. So in the background is, we have things like the let's say we have the outline width, for example. So but we don't want to change the outline width, so you just leave it. But we have the width here, right? So this, the outline width is that black strip you see along there. We don't want it to change, so we leave it. And then we have the width here. Again, the width is this distance of that orange block, but we don't want it to change, so you leave that. And the height, again, we don't want the height to change, so we leave that. Corner radius, same thing, we leave it. And then the center X, we don't want, like most of the things are just okay. All right, so but what the point is, for example, we could want to change its position. Okay, so what we can do, we can add a keyframe there as well. All right, and the next part is we shall be moving, we go back up, and we're now going to move them off screen. Okay, so here, by doing so, you can come over here, for example, and move your playhead back here, and just at that point you come over here to the playhead and then shift it off the screen like that. All right, So you shift it, you just shift it off the screen. So it's now off the screen, but before, copy this value, just Ctrl C on your keyboard, because you want it to be the same value for the real estate agent, so that if you want there to be some kind of delay, you don't have to copy the value. But since you want them to move together, you copy it and then bring it to that and then paste it there. Okay, so when we paste it there, now they will be moving together. So if you play it, they should move together just like that. But the point is you must also be very, very careful, because let's pull this a little bit. So here you must be careful in, if you want to offset the movement. In other words, if you want the Tom McGovern to come first and then real estate agent comes first, then in the metadata section, sorry, the inspector panel here, you have to go and then set different X values and different X values depending on the achievement, something you want to achieve. The problem I'm having is that there is a lot of lag in the software, and I actually haven't figured out how to drop the resolution like you can do in Adobe, like After Effects, because that in Adobe After Effects, once you drop the resolution, it can be much smoother, even in Premiere Pro. But I haven't figured out how to do that in Davinci Resolve. If you know how to help me, you can please comment in the comment section below. I'll be more than happy to hear from you. So with that being done, you now have your first part of the animation that just comes in like that. Okay, so for example, you're here. So let's imagine, like, now you're tired, people have read it, now it's time to move it off screen. Now to move it off screen, don't just move it off, because if you move it off, it will come and then it will begin moving again without pausing. So what we want to set a keyframe at the same position as this position. For example, this is off the screen, so there is a keyframe of 347 in the X position, and then the final keyframe, our final keyframe is 92. Okay, so the next keyframe, if you want it to stay on screen while it's still steady at this position, it should have a keyframe of 92 as well. If you put any other keyframe, it won't stay steady on the screen, it will begin transitioning towards that keyframe. I hope that makes sense. Okay, so with that being said, we are going to add another keyframe just by clicking at that position. But then again, you want to come over down here and change the keyframes here again. On the real estate agent, we're going to put another keyframe as well, because now we're going to move it permanently off screen. So we want it, so for example, by the time it's here, okay, let's say by the time it's here, okay, it should be off screen. So now you can move it off screen, move the real estate agent thing off screen. Now again, it's very important, if you want these two to move with the same speed off the screen, you have to copy this value here of the first keyframe that you made off screen by copying Ctrl C, and then come and paste that same value in the second option. Okay, Ctrl V, and then paste it there. So again you can see that it's not totally off screen, so which means that these values aren't going to work very well. So let's move this totally directly off like that. Okay, so it's much better you begin with this the one which has a bigger real estate on the screen, so that you know that you've totally taken care of everything. See, so for example, when we play, you may see that it's now kind of moving off, but not really very well. It's not the same. Let me go to the render section and try to see if that will work. So here again in the render section, it's kind of, let me turn off that. So in the render section, you can see that there is a slight, this one moves slower and then this moves very quickly. That's what I was saying, that because this value is different from that value, that's why it has that kind of a movement, whereas here it has a similar movement when you come here and you play it. Okay, and when you go back here, when you go here, for example, you'll see that the movement is kind of similar, but then when it's going back, it's going to have different movements. You can see this moves first and then this moves second because of different values. So this is how in a nutshell, this is how you work with keyframes. But when you're working with, for example, scroll text, they already use this principle. They've already keyframed it for you. Davinci Resolve has already keyframed everything for you, but in the in the y direction, where for example here it's at 0 and then here it's at some value up here. So all this way it's a transition going up like that. So these are like presets, but this is how you can do it manually, and you have a lot of options you can try, like to get more down with it and like have more fun with it like this. Okay, so my challenge to you is try to come up with a keyframe that comes here and then stops and then speeds off to this side. Just try to make that, and then let me know if you want to share it with me. Just tag me in your video or something, on just comment, just so that I can see it. You can tag me on Instagram. My handles are going to be there as well, and I'll be glad to see what you've made and how you've understood the keyframes. Okay, so this is what I wanted to say today. I'm going to leave it at this. I hope you found value, and just go create, stay awesome, be amazing. Till next time, peace.